Welcome to my YouTube, Robin James, music and reviews. Welcome to my YouTube, Robin James, music and reviews.
You give me a time and place, I give you a 5-minute window. Anything happens in that 5 minutes and I'm yours. I don't sit in while you're running it down. I don't carry a gun. I drive.
Action! Isn't that dangerous?
It's perfect. It's only part-time.
You two know each other.
Don't.
Welcome to Robin James Reviews. All right, guys, I'm glad to finally be back. I do apologize. I took a bit of a break as I moved to upgrade my living situation here in Torrance, and now I'm all settled and I'm ready to get back on track and have a more consistent schedule of movie reviews for you guys. So if you could let me know in the comments what movies you'd like to see me recap and review, that'd be a huge help. Subscribing is the best way to help the channel grow, so please take a second to do so. All right, without any further delay, let's go for a ride as I review and recap Drive, starring Ryan Gosling and Carey Mulligan. Drive was released in 2011 and was directed by an upcoming filmmaker, Nicholas Winding Refn, and it also featured a real all-star level supporting cast and iconic music. Drive has surely gained tons of fans over the years, although a lot of them felt misled by the trailers for Drive back in 2011. And while doing this review, I used the trailers to make my clips and stuff, and I can see that complaint. Although one woman was so pissed that she went and tried to sue the movie studio. I wouldn't be that upset, but I can see why people were feeling a bit misled here. The film definitely doesn't live up to like a Fast and the Furious level of action, but that movie cost, upwards of hundreds of millions of dollars, while this film only cost 15 million. It looks like it cost a lot more than that. With the level of even just the actors and actresses they got here alone, feels like a bigger budget film than this, but it's beautifully shot and the stunts are practical, but I could see people being disappointed if you were looking for snappy one-liners from your main character. So the film did have a $15 million budget and went on to gross $78 million worldwide at the box office. And I'd say that's a success, though. And I think, again, it's had even more success after the release of the film in the theaters and has got, I'd say, a cult following at this point. And for this review, I'm going to give you some insight to the making of the movie, as well as reviewing some of the performances, the music, and also the look of the film. I do have a few slight negatives that we can explore, and I'd like to know, some of your pros and cons about the movie Drive down in the comments as well. So we start here with the great opening as it really sets the scene of Los Angeles, and the song by Kaczynski is just, hitting just perfectly. And again, the music here is one of these movies where I think you have to say it's at least 50-50. The music and the shots and the cinematography and the acting and everything blends so well that if you took this score out with these songs they chose and with the actual score that plays over the scenes, it would be a totally different movie, and I don't think be as effective ultimately. So here the music is a huge plus, and it starts right away. So his character isn't really given a name in the movie, which definitely is interesting, and in the credits it's just the driver. But after you watch the movie, I think that it really fits well. And also this scorpion jacket he has is really badass. And it ultimately represents when he's sort of in that mode, when he's either being criminal or ultimately at the end of the movie where he gets very violent, he dons this scorpion jacket. He had actually said that he had wanted to be a superhero, so this is like his bat signal.
I just wanted to play a superhero, but all the good ones were taken. So I thought, well, I can make one with this guy.
So you just moved to LA?
No, I've been here for a while.
What do you do?
I drive for movies. Yeah, well, that Scorpion is from a film called Scorpio Rising. which is a Kenneth Anger film, which we're kind of using as a bit of inspiration for this. So we thought, it'd be cool to make that our like Batman signal.
And it really sets up Los Angeles well. There's a lot of shots of him driving in LA, and I am a driver in LA actually as my day job, and it feels very familiar. And I think that basically it's really very authentic here. It's really well made. And right away we are introduced to Ryan Gosling, and he's a getaway driver basically. So we know he's living a criminal life at some level for sure.
Come on.
They do a heist, and he's has an awesome opening car chase with the police, and right away you just know this film's on a different level than most action movies that we're fed. It unfolds as it goes. It doesn't give us much information at all.
In the film, he's a quite an enigmatic character, and we all have theories about who he is, but I think that it's best to leave it up to the audience.
And in fact, there was a lot more dialogue in the original script, but Gosling and the director went ahead and just kept cutting and cutting and cutting the dialogue to really, he only has 116 lines, I think, and speaks 890-ish words, they said, in the movie, which is not a lot. I'll probably say more words in this review than that. The first actor who was cast for the film was Bryan Cranston.
Heisenberg. You're goddamn right.
And Bryan was the director's first choice for the character. He plays a sort of hustler who's looking for his big break. And he's the one who brings a lot of that dialogue that's missing. And it was actually Cranston's idea.
They stripped down the dialogue for him. And so as a good partner to the film, I thought, then I should pick it up. I should be a motor mouth.
I thought that was pretty interesting. And a good observation by Bryan Cranston, and shows why he's such a top level actor. He's got the chops, and also really aware of what a character would be like. If you're around someone who doesn't talk a lot, generally you're going to want to talk a lot if that's how you are as like maybe an extrovert. You're really worried he's going to get in trouble with Albert Brooks, who plays our villain, and Ron Perlman, who's like the gangster mobster here. And so you're really worried for Bryan and for what he's getting Ryan Gosling's character into as well.
For the rest of your life, you're going to be looking over your shoulder.
They have an auto mechanic shop, and they do stunts. He sets up stunts with film studios, and Ryan Gosling's his driver. And then at night, or whenever, I guess, there's a heist to be done, he might get contracted to do that heist. So really, I think if you look at that, you could see a theme here, is that these characters all live multiple lives. So like Ryan Gosling's character might have 3 or 4 different lives and worlds he lives in, because eventually he meets Carey Mulligan's character, and he bonds with her, and it's really just shown, it's not told either. The movie really just shows us as they kind of connect and bond with also she has a son, and her husband is in jail, and he's played by Oscar Isaac, who Oscar did great in this movie. He made me feel really fucking nervous because he's so desperate, and something's bad's going to happen. And you're also worried because when he's reintroduced to the story, our main character has been hanging out with the family, and you're wondering if they're going to have issues.
This guy's been telling me a lot about you. Says you've been coming around helping out a lot. Yeah, helping out. Is that right? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. He can't seem to right his wrongs and has to turn to this person who's his sworn enemy, for help. And you can feel the conflict and his pride.
There's some guys that want me to do a job for them, and I'm not going to do it.
It's a great character, and he's a great actor.
So really interesting dynamics here. Some great characters. Oscar Isaac, I loved him in Ex Machina, and he's been in Star Wars. He's one of the few positives there. And so just great characters here. And of course, Albert Brooks, all-timer, Taxi Driver, Mom, the Simpsons movie. He was funny. So, I did love this cast, and the fact they were able to get such a great cast for sort of a small budget film was also amazing. If we're going to talk about a few negatives, I guess also not just from my perspective, but I think a lot of people, again, were a little turned off by the slower pace, and maybe also the violence that ends up happening here at the end is really more brutal, I think, than you expect. And in the end, you kind of wonder, am I rooting for another villain? It's hard to find characters in this movie that are just, other than the Carey Mulligan character, but of course, then you think, well, she's also, with these kind of people as well. So there's a lot of that. These characters aren't clean. This isn't a happy ending time here. This is a deeper character study than that. And sometimes it can feel a little repetitive, a little slow. I say that about quite a few movies, like Through the Middle, but here it is felt, and there's not a lot of dialogue. You're not going to learn a ton about his background and stuff. You just kind of know what he does.
I drive.
I didn't like one performance, and it was Ron Perlman from Hellboy. He's great usually. I mean, I always am entertained by him. He's quite a character. I mean, he really, you can't not see him when he's on screen, but I just didn't like his take here. He's trying to play a Jewish guy who wants to be an Italian mobster, and he's overdoing it. And it's the character. I mean, that's how he wanted to do it, I read, but it just became cringy and annoying to a point where when he's on screen, it doesn't feel like it fits with the rest of the movie because Albert Brooks's villain is playing it much more straight, and I just don't understand the dynamic there. But ultimately, though, that's really the only negatives I have for this movie.
Of course you do.
Now that is one motherfucking fine-ass pussy mobile motherfucker.
This movie has heavy influences from movies like The Getaway with Steve McQueen and Ali MacGraw, and also Taxi Driver starring Robert De Niro. And yes, Albert Brooks was also in that film. I see a lot of similarities in some of the setup and how the characters act, but he did it in a good way. The homage he's paying really comes through well, and he took the good parts of those movies and put them into his movie, and it turns out to be very original on its own. And that's what is great about art. And I think that if you're in for a movie that you want to see with, amazing cinematography, a great look of Los Angeles, some awesome acting, great music. There's a song by Desire, and I think a man named Cliff Martinez did quite a few number of songs here. So definitely go check out the soundtrack for Drive. I think it was rated a top 40 all-time soundtrack, maybe by Rolling Stone or one of the big magazines. So if you're in for that kind of ride and not as much of the Fast and Furious, you're looking for, this movie has great lighting. Some of the scenes are framed so well that those parts of the movie really I was in awe of as I reviewed these times. And I personally think the movie is real close to being a all-timer, and I'm not sure if it is, but again, definitely worth the watch. I recommend it. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. I enjoy Drive to Death. I've probably seen it 6 or 7 times, guys. So clearly I enjoy the movie. And again, also check out the soundtrack for Drive. Well, thanks for joining me here today as I told you a little bit about the movie Drive, gave you some of my thoughts. And I'd like to know, again, your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you can do me a favor, drop a like on the video before you take off. And I'll see you guys again soon, I promise.
I think because there's a dream element to our movie that isn't popular in this genre. I think a lot of times that there's a certain surreal element to it, which makes it unique.